to Hedingham Castle and our first ever chats with the Chatelaine, who is me. I'm Demetra Lindsay, and I live and work in this remarkable place, Hedingham Castle. And it's our magical home as well. And here is Steffi Dry.
Hello!
And we are going to take you through a series of vlogs, aren't we?
Yeah.
About this amazing place which has 900 years of recorded history, and all the fun and games that we get up to here, and and all the disasters, I think, as well.
So what are the vlogs going to be about?
Well, I thought I'd tell people about, well, it's sort of a day in the life of the Chatelaine, really, and I think people get such a surprise when they find out what I actually do every day, that it's not really what they think.
No.
So in fact, it's much more fun to tell them all the stories, and then they get the proper picture.
Okay. What is it you do here at Hedingham?
Well, it's funny, isn't it? So times have changed. We now can welcome people rather than repel them. What do? We do weddings, we do events, we do filming, and it's lovely actually down to be able to share it with the community. Yeah. And we have a lot of schools here, and of course the castle has always been a central figure in the community, and so it's lovely to be able to continue that. Yeah. Let's go inside.
Okay, fantastic. So, do you have a 5 or 10 year plan?
Funny you should say that. We living here is a little bit like living with a great aunt, a very demanding great aunt. And so often you get to the end of a year, you get to sort of December, and you think, right, what have I achieved this year? And you think, and you look at your list, and it has no resemblance to what you've actually managed to achieve. And she sort of tells you what you need to achieve. So having, it would be so nice, wouldn't it? It's so sophisticated to have a 10-year plan,
yes.
but it just never has happened like that. So we just live with it. You get used to it after a while. Mm-hmm. No 2 days are ever alike in this place, and some days you are receiving Mat LeBlanc from friends through the front door. It's so exciting, and the next day you're cleaning the loo. So it's, it's the up and the down.
So tell me about your family.
Oh, look, I will show you in the photo. So we have Natasha, actually this is quite old, but we have Natasha who is now 16, really going on 18 of course, and then we have twin boys, Thomas and Anthony, who are 14, really going on 10, because they still seem to just spend their whole time fighting. I mean, twin boys. Which is rather nice, and they add their own brand of chaos to the place, of course. Yeah. But I mean, what an amazing place to grow up, and what excitement! And I think it's great fun for them to see how it's developing. Yeah. And actually, they seem to think that we live in a much bigger community as well, because apparently children can see ghosts. That they're convinced somebody sits there most of the time.
Oh, really?
Really, rather hilariously. I'm yet to see that, but I will tell you more ghost stories another time, because that is, well, I mean, golly, how long have you got?
So you've called this chapter Capture the Castle. I wonder if you could tell me a bit more about that.
Well, yes, because Dodie Smith, as you know, wrote I Capture the Castle. And when I was leaving London, leaving my job and coming here, I was given by them a book called, that book. Yeah. And I thought, yes, how romantic, this is how my life's going to be, and little did I know that actually it wasn't me who captured the castle, I was the one who was captured by the castle. And it was totally the other way around, and hilariously, working in architecture, you work incredibly hard, long hours, weekends and all that sort of thing. And I thought, no, I can never work as hard as this. This is ridiculous. Until I came here, and then I realised that actually what really hard work was like.
Right, okay.
I mean, the most fun I've ever had for the last 17 years, but you know, it has been hard work.
So what was life like before Hedingham Castle?
Well, quite different actually. Living in London, I met Jace when he was an art dealer and I was an architect. And but he already knew he was going to take on this place. His father had inherited it from a childless cousin in 1980.
Yeah.
And so this was going to be Jace's destiny. So actually, when we suddenly realised that actually we were going to be quite serious, this was definitely part of the equation. So if this made me recoil in horror, you know, this, you know, he couldn't do anything about that. So you know, I was going to have to move at that point if that was the case. However, of course, being an architect, something like this, and it's not how it was in those days, you know, was an exciting challenge. Yeah. So it didn't worry me at all. But of course, I would like to think that Jace chose me as a wife, not because of my architectural skills. We're just holding on to that.
And when did you get married?
We got married in 2003. Actually, here we are. Look, there's a photo of the whole shebang. This is the Ryder Ranton. There's my parents here, and the Lindsays there, and all the brothers and sisters and best men, and you know the usual shenanigans, and some very apt page boys, and you know who are looking like they've just come out of the castle, which is rather gorgeous. And my grandma, who got married in 1930, and that's what she wore to her wedding, which was a rather unusual wedding because of her family situation. And then actually we moved to Hedingham, you know, the moment number one, Tasha was on the way, we moved to Hedingham pretty soon after that, because, you know, let's face it, why not move house, change job, have baby, all at the same time? Yeah. I mean, you know, when there is a good time to do any of those things, frankly. Just put it all in the air.
And when you got married, did you know Hedingham at this point?
Well, yes, I had been here for some weekends, for some quiet country weekends, and for some sort of big party weekends. Yeah. And actually, but you know, regarding sort of what it was like, it was only really when my parents came for their first visit. My mother got out of the car, and this was before Tasha was born, and before we moved here, obviously. And she got out of the car and she said, "Well, you're not going to live there, are you?" And I didn't really know it. And I turned around and I saw actually it wasn't this a sort of fairy tale place. You know, it was a place that looked semi-derelict and needed a lot of work. And it's so funny because Mummy is so kind and so sort of respectful about how she talks to people, so when she says something so blunt, you sort of go, "Oh my God, you know, maybe I have to sit up and smell the coffee, she's actually meaning it." You know, it was so funny. I mean, for instance, this room, which is the Ashurst room, did not look like this at all, and it had been done up as a stage set for Lovejoy, that wonderful programme about that antiques dealer, and this was a palazzo in Prague.
So you mentioned about Hedingham being a bit derelict. I wonder if you could tell me a bit more about that.
Well, the thing is that the house hadn't been lived in for 23 years, which is such a shame for a house. It really, you know, you really feel that. My parents-in-law had nobly and amazingly come here every 3 weeks or so for 4 days to sort of keep it going. Yeah. And to make sure it was open to the public and make sure that, but not the house, because it was just, you know, it was just very sort of sad and unloved. Well,
I've never been upstairs before.
Oh, haven't you?
No.
Well, it doesn't normally look like this. Well, actually, that's quite relevant, isn't it? It's really funny because, of course, lockdown has meant that we've done a bit of clearing up. You know, there's and actually in the attic, we were storing all these armchairs, which were the old people's armchairs.
Oh, right.
And actually, I'm not an upholsterer or anything, and we don't need this many armchairs. I mean, how much sitting down really can one do? And I mean, it's really priceless. I think there are At least 10 we have found. Oh look, 11.
Wow.
Armchairs that really should go to a better home. But we've now got a room upstairs that we could do something with.
So what did Hedingham look like when you arrived?
Well, funnily enough, that's why I brought you up here, because this is a really good place. There were some bits of it that hadn't been done up since 1903.
Wow.
And actually, here we are in the attic, and I still think that this hasn't been done up since 1903. Yeah, we're getting there, I mean, one of the main problems, and actually this staircase is the epitome of it, was the leaking of the roof.
Yeah.
This bit of the roof hadn't been done for forever, and there were on this staircase alone there were 6 buckets. I've given myself 20 years to start Hedingham. I think I might need another 3 or 4 because of the COVID slight hiccup. But as you can see, so this is the room where all the armchairs were.
Okay, yeah.
Which I really attractively call the fly room because that's the only people who live in here at the moment. We need to do a little work on the ceiling, a little work on the wall. Maybe heating would be nice.
What
The
might it
electrics
become?
are completely Well, I don't know. I secretly have this idea that it's going to be my room, and I'm going to sit here and do yoga. But since I never have time to wash my teeth, I don't know what I think that for.
So how did you live in the house when you first arrived?
Well, I brought you in here. This is our playroom. Because that's a very good question for here, actually. This was our everything room. We lived in 2 bedrooms, so 1 bedroom for us and 1 bedroom for Natasha. And then this room we had a kitchenette here, and we had the dining room table there, and that was where the sofa was, and this was the playpen, just next door to the fireplace, which is a really good place to have playpen. And we had our telly, and we did everything in here. The staff had sort of taken over the wedding business and sort of taken over the whole of the bottom floor.
Right.
And it needed just gentle, very respectful sort of getting back in, if you see what I mean. And so that process just took quite a long time. And when you've just had a baby, it's obviously not, And it was utter chaos, and you might say it looks like utter chaos now, because it is. Obviously, the children have literally just walked off. You can see that. And the windows still, we're just restoring those and, usual stuff. But it was just like living in our London flat, because of course, in London everybody lives in one room anyway.
Yeah, absolutely.
So to us, we were, it didn't seem to bother us actually at all. We've now got spreaditis, rather like the space. But if we had to come back into this room, I think we'd find that quite difficult. But at the time, it was lovely actually, all being in one place. My father called it our flat in the country and was constantly surprised that we hadn't noticed there was this amazing, we could have a connection downstairs, in, out, that sort of,
And was it cold? Was there heating?
Oh my goodness, it was cold. Oh, it was, and that's the other thing about being married to a Scot. They don't turn the heating on very often, do they? But the heating just couldn't cope. There was heating, but it was just, the windows, everything, with the leaks, it was just like, there was no point.
Yeah.
So I used to sort of wear what I'm wearing now. And then I put on another jumper because that was, I had 3 vests on, obviously. And then I put on this enormous sort of tunic kind of jumper that I used to have that came down to about here. And that was great because, and then there was that hilarious day when we got our wood chip boiler. And I was just sort of wandering around, I'm going to die of heat. And I started peeling off all my jumpers, and Jace was looking at me going, have I seen that before? I don't know. And just thought I'd suddenly gone and got a whole new wardrobe because he literally hadn't seen any of the things I'd worn underneath this tent.
Brilliant.
But all that time, it was so funny. And he also thought I'd lost a bit of weight, which is good because instead of looking like the Michelin man, I suddenly looked a bit slimmer. So, horses for courses. There's a silver lining.
Yeah. Well, quite a lot has changed since then.
Well, golly, hasn't it? As I said, we were, gave ourselves 20 years, and we're going to need a little bit more than that because, we have to do it all out of cash. Like,
Yeah.
you know, that's really important. But actually, you know, it isn't just the house, it's the lodge and the cottage, and of course the keep. You know, because the keep is such an enormous drain on the jolly old resources, and takes a lot of maintenance. You know, and during the time of after the war, it hadn't had any maintenance, so we're a bit behind on that.
Okay, yeah.
But you know, that's how it is. You know, but we've got to restore that monument, so that's very important.
Yeah.
So I hope you're going to enjoy this vlog. It's going to be lots of stories about all the adventures that we've had here in the last 17 years or so, and how it's all changed so dramatically since we moved in. And if you would like to subscribe on the YouTube channel, that's brilliant, because we're going to do several episodes, many episodes I think, aren't we?
Yep.
So you know, there's so much to tell. And I'm going to leave you with a rather fun thought that when I'm sitting at my desk upstairs, which is another bundle of chaos, I will show you one day, there's a china plate in front of me, a Victorian plate, and it just says, "Let not advantage slip, make use of time." Or maybe it's the other way around, "Make use of time, let not advantage slip." And I sit there going, "Right, I've got to get on, It's one of those hilariously sort of, you can imagine, you know, Victorian matriarch sort of doing this and just cracking them.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm well under that. Told you she was a demanding old